Well, I was what they call a 2512, which is what they called a wireman back then. Okay. We climbed telephone poles. We installed cabling underground. We doing, if we had combat or field operations, we also trenches and hid cabling and things like that. We are the ones that had basically, we were the telephone system. Back then they didn't have the lift trucks, so we climbed the telephone pole. That's why I'm in this chair today, because I fell off one and hurt my back. That's pretty much what I did. Trajector was introduced to me many years ago because I had been attempting to try to file a claim with the VA. All I could get from the VA was, we can't find your records, so we can't support your claim. So I was denied. So I continued to search the archives, kept sending requests to archives. Okay, and I found it strange that you can give me my DD-214, but you can't give me any other military records. Okay. And so a lot of people said, well, they gave you copies of your records when you discharged. No, they did not, because everything that they gave me when I discharged, I still have it. I still have everything. So they did not give me my records. When I got back to the States, first thing we were supposed to do was report to the VA, get our wisdom teeth pulled. I did that. So at that point, I didn't even know that I still had benefits at the VA. So I never did go back. That was in 82. So, all these times I'm working a job, got insurance and all these things. So everything that I was going through, my back, my knees, my hip, that was being taken care of by a outside doctor, regular doctor. So the company I worked for terminated my position. And so there I was, no insurance, had these medical issues. And so I decided to visit the VA. Started going to the VA. They started treating me, and I started finding out I had benefits that I didn't even know I had, because I didn't have somebody to counsel me when I was discharged to tell me, this is what you're going to get. This is what you need to do. But anyway, long story short, I started looking into filing a claim. Like I say, the VA kept denying me. So I kind of just left it alone. So during one of my class reunions here recently, like in the last 2 or 3 years, one of my classmates was telling me, hey man, look, I had the same issue with the Veterans Administration trying to file my claim, man. It was tough. He said, but somebody introduced me to the Trajector. Here, take this number and call them. And so I'm thinking Trajector is like a legal firm, and I'm like, I don't want to fool with no legal firm, I don't want to deal with it. But after I kept getting the denials from the VA or the archive notification that they couldn't find my records, they can send me a DD-214, but they can't find records where I was in sick bay, or took that vaccinations, or where I was stationed, all these different things. Yet honorably discharged, right? So after a while, I just decided I'm going to give them a try, because I was in a restaurant and another gentleman said the same thing. He said, man, look, I had a hard time getting my claim. So I called this company Trajector, and months after that, I'd received my first disability rating. I said, are you for real? So he said, yeah. I said, I'm going to give him a call. And so I made that call one day, probably April, May this year. I decided to give him a call. I was fed up with the VA telling me that they don't know where my records are. So not only that, I'm basically disabled because the work I used to hold a CDL license. So now I'm in no condition to drive any large vehicle. I don't hold my CDLs no more because of medications I was on, because of the pain and stress that I was under due to my injuries, my shoulders, my neck, my back, my hips, my knees, my legs, And so I end up filing Social Security disability. And so after a while, you get to understand that, hey, Social Security disability is just not going to be enough. You need to keep pushing this claim because I deserve it. I remember laying on concrete floor because I was paralyzed for like a month due to my injury to my back. And I said, no, somebody's got to find something. I've never been in contact with some of my Marine Corps buddies, and I remember their names. Facebook, they're not on Facebook, none of the social media stuff. So Trajector was the answer. I called them. They told me, hey, look, we're going to send you to a couple of doctors. They're going to have a conversation with you. You're going to tell them about what you've been going through. And then we're going to submit that information to the VA. I said, okay, I'll give it a try. What do I have to lose? And so 3, 4 months, maybe 4 months, maybe 5, after going to the different doctors, seeing the different doctors about different things, the VA made a deposit to me. I didn't even know what it was for. I'm like, what is this for? So I went back to va.gov and I'm looking through and they're going, you've been approved. Okay. So I get the payment before I get the notification. Okay. I ain't gonna complain too much about that. But I was really shocked because this was my first disability approval and it was 70%. Okay. It wasn't like some of my friends said, yeah, first time I got 20, 30, I had to keep working at it. It was 70%. And I'm like, oh Lord, thank you for the 70%. Because, nobody likes being in a wheelchair and using all the devices I use. But when I got to 70%, I was really happy.